Welcome back for another episode of Trucker Talk Radio Behind the Wheelhouse. I'm your host, Justin. Today's guest is someone who has become one of the most recognized voices in freight brokerage, freight sales, and transportation market intelligence. If you've ever spent time around FreightWaves, freight brokerage, sales strategy meetings, or transportation technology over the last decade, you've probably run across Kevin Hill. From the hosting of the popular Put the Coffee Down podcast to founding Carrier List, later acquired by Highway, Kevin has spent years helping transportation professionals better understand how the freight sales, prospecting, and business development really works. Today, Kevin serves as head of sales at Carrier Source while also operating Brush Pass Research, where he studies shippers' behavior, broker trends, marketing opportunities, and freight sales data across North America. Kevin, welcome to the Behind the Wheelhouse.
Well, thank you, Justin, and thanks for having me, and thanks for the nice, long, pleasant introduction.
You have had your hat in a lot of different areas in the industry. Let's just go back to the beginning. How did you get into this crazy business? Did you have your passion somewhere else and you kind of just got in it, because, or was this what you wanted to do for a long time?
Like most people in transportation, I kind of fell into it,
There you go.
as we all do. It's kind of like you're either born into it or you fall into it.
That's right.
Though there isn't that middle ground or other options for it. But yeah, I got into it a little bit late in life. I done sales in different industries, kind of
Hmm.
financial and publishing, and went back and got an MBA and got out kind of right in the middle of the recession, the Great Recession,
Hmm.
and needed a job and became a freight broker. And it was really interesting, and I think one of the most one of the things I like about it and fell in love with it is it's a market. It's one of the true free markets out there, and you have volatility, and you have just the supply and demand is fascinating. So started studying that, and I was a freight broker for 2 or 3 years. I started out with Melton Truck Lines or Melton
Oh, okay.
Logistics
Yep.
in
Yep.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I was born and raised.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's being a freight broker is it's probably the easiest to get into per se because you work off somebody's book and then before you get your own book
Mhm.
in a business, and it's a little bit easier. It seems they'll give you an opportunity there before they kind of will like a dispatcher per se. It seems like that's kind of how I got into it a lot was like, well, hey, you ain't got any freight, so here, go and sell some of mine and go try to make relationships. But
Yeah.
it's changed a lot. I've been in the industry now for over 20 years. I've kind of like you. I've done just about everything but on a truck. It taught me a lot being a broker about the industry, about the other part. So with you, being a broker and working in sales, what did you probably learn the most with through all that?
It was the hardest sell that I ever did. I've
Hmm.
been this is back in 2012, I think, when I
Hmm.
started. And I've sold different things, and usually if you're selling, say, a product or a service, you can go back and fix it. It's kind of under your control in a
Hmm.
lot of ways, right? You can control the product or the service that you're offering. And freight brokerage, you don't really have much control over that final result, right? And things are always going to go wrong. And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why there are freight brokers to handle things that go wrong. So that and just the pricing aspect of it too, right? Which I kind of like, but it's frustrating sometimes because it's a market-based pricing.
Yeah.
Um, what the price of a truck is today isn't what it's going to be tomorrow, and you have to figure out how to price correctly,
Yeah.
and you have to be able to identify, and something that you probably uh, know as well is you start identifying who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with, because
Absolutely.
there's a lot of shippers out there that there's a reason, especially when you're new in the business, that they work with you, is because they've kind of
Yeah.
been red flagged from everybody else. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, but it's really interesting.
Absolutely. And you bring up a couple good points there. a good broker, if you're a good company or you're a good driver that has done work with them before and you have done a good job, you can be trustworthy for an extent of you not knowing them by, personally, a broker is going to give you a better rate just so they know, hey, that dispatcher or that truck driver's got that load taken care of. I don't have to worry about it. I can unload that load at the day before, and I'm not sitting on the boards and phone calls trying to push it out at the last
Hmm.
minute with God knows who. And so, with all that being said, and with everything going on, where do you see the state of brokerages right now?
And you brought up some really good points, right? I mean, like brokerage is essential just because if you don't have brokers, then you have to go out and do the sales yourself.
Yep.
And it's going to cost you probably more than that 10 or 20% that you're paying a broker, right? That premium or that the brokerage makes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, as a trucking company, you have to go out and absorb all that, right? You have to go out and actually sell and keep the wheels moving all across the country, which is tough for any small operation to do, even large operations. It should make your life easier, and if you do a good job, you have a good relationship. I used to pay my good carriers more than the market, right? But
Right.
then I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't have to track anybody. I didn't
No.
have to. I had no problem, especially if they'd done the route more than once.
Right.
It's kind of I could go out and focus on what I need to do. I didn't have to over communicate. I didn't have to worry, stress-free life, sort of. But where's brokerage going? Brokerage has kind of accelerated the pandemic, right? The
Mm-hmm.
huge bull market that we had. That you saw the percentage of freight tendered to brokerages jump up to about 25 or 30% during that time. It's come down a little bit from there just because of the market shifts and changes.
Oh yeah.
But that trajectory is still going higher. So brokerages are getting more freight. I think what you see, especially with the large asset, mega carriers,
Mm-hmm.
they all have brokerage arms. They have large brokerage arms, right? It's
Right.
there's not that capex spending that they have to do. The leverage on just having salespeople and computers and software. I think what you're seeing is a growth in the brokerage market, that 3PL, that 4PL, whether it's managed trans. I think the trajectory of that is going up. I think you're probably going to see the amount of freight tendered to non-asset players, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a third or more here in a few years, in the next
Mm-hmm.
5 or 10 years, right? A third or more. I think a lot of that has to do with technology. I think
Yeah.
technology has made brokerage more stickier and more easier to deal with for shippers, right? Though there's more
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
integrations,
Yeah.
it's more like that carrier feel
Mm-hmm.
than in the old days where you're just getting a truck. Getting in a
Right.
truck, it's hard to communicate. There's no really stickiness or relationship there except transactional. I
Mm-hmm.
think with technology, you're being able to 3PLs are able to build a better relationship with shippers, right? Get more
Right.
integrated into that workflow.
Yeah.
And with that, brokerages have the optionality of the entire trucking market to go out and find capacity.
I always say about the trucking industry, we are one of the most behind technology industries. And I think a lot of it's nobody ever wants to share anything. They
Hmm.
don't want you in their system because they're afraid you're going to find something,
Yeah.
even though you might have signed some paperwork saying you wouldn't, and I mean I get all that. I've been in business my entire life. I understand that, but I see more and more integration. I see more companies integrating with the TMS is integrating with the carrier. That's for integrating into a load
Hmm.
board. It's integrating, directly into an ELD that's in the truck. And I think the more that this industry does that, the better it's going to be for all sides. Our main sponsors, Ready App, and I mean, I do work with them, and they have developed a digital passport to where drivers can own their information. It's all put into a digital passport, CDL,
Hmm.
medical card, anything they need onboarding, and now they'll be able to share that through a driver verify program inside Ready App that they can share that information directly. They share it, not Ready App,
Yep.
not to carrier, not to broker, but the driver itself shares what information is needed to that broker to make that transaction more secure, and then also the driver is linked to that carrier. So then now that broker can go to the carrier page and go, okay, John Smith is actually working with that carrier. Or if he's not, he can go, well, hey, you're not turned on their back office, so I can't work with you. You don't really work for them because they're trying to fight fraud and theft. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got I hear stories all the time of drivers working for a carrier for 6 to 8 months to a year just to steal one load. So, do you see stuff like that becoming more and more prominent and needed just to try to secure and protect everybody? Even
It's a
back,
different world.
it is, it is. I mean,
You take it back 15 years. I mean, I think I've been around 15 years, and then sure you've been around a little bit more. When you started out, I mean,
oh
there
yeah,
wasn't really any fraud per se. Maybe one here or one, it
yeah.
was,
But it was a
it was,
small little group that you could push them out, and nobody would work with them, right? Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Or someone's hustling for fuel advances or
Yeah.
something like that, which is nothing compared to today's terms. I mean, today's terms, I mean, since I don't know, 5, 6 years now. It really
A bit.
exploded. You have a lot of criminal organizations that, that's all they do
Mm,
is
yeah.
is come up with ways to scam and defraud and trucking is wild. Every time you shut off one valve, they start another
Mm.
scheme, and yeah, I've
Worse.
been hearing about that as well. Driving for 6 to 8 months to still load,
Yeah.
or
Well, there.
hacking in, there's all kinds of stuff. So with that said, whether you like it or not, and 10 years ago you wanted your privacy as as
Yeah.
a driver, and you valued that. Well, those I think those days are gone just because of
Yeah.
the fraud and the amount and scale of it
I
is that
agree.
everything and we're kind of behind on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a $1 trillion industry.
Mm.
In trucking itself, just the for hire trucking is about $500 billion a year. That's a lot of cash flying around.
Mm-hmm.
And we're ready just to sign a contract and put, 50, $100,000 worth of merchandise,
Mm-hmm.
and pay, two, three, four, $5,000 to move that.
Yeah. It's
You gotta
a
have
lot of
some security these days.
right. It's a lot of trust when there's not a lot of trust there. And I
Yeah.
even think as a driver, you need to do this now that way to stand out. You want to show,
Hmm.
hey, even though you shouldn't have to show that you're truly legal, but you now need to stand out from the rest and show, hey, I'm
Yep.
going the extra measure. And I think carriers and brokers alike would respect that and go, hey, we appreciate you taking the effort to do this, and there's benefits for it too. I mean, I laugh and said this a while back. If a driver gets pulled over by a DOT officer, the conversation within the first 2 minutes is really going to dictate how that stop goes.
Hmm.
If they're not
Hmm.
organized or they got messy paperwork or they can't find something, that's going to tick the officer off. And then he's going to be a little bit more particular. If you can hand him your app with the QR code and he scans it and everything you need right there, and then you go into yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, or what have
Yeah.
you, that's going to get you a little grace, to start that conversation off a little bit better, and those kind of things add up, and I hope to see that
They
continue.
do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I interviewed. It's probably been a year ago. We did the Broker Carrier Summit. I'm involved in the Broker Carrier Summit. We did that in Indianapolis, and we had one of the Highway Patrol.
Hmm.
I think it was Highway Patrolman, but he inspected trucks, did the DOT
Right.
compliance, and that was the first thing that he said. Right? It's just like, and it's like, what can a driver do to make the process easier?
Hmm.
Be organized, be
Exactly.
prepared. It would make my life a lot easier. I'm not going to have suspicions about because if you can't find anything in your cab, you're disorganized. That means that
You're
everything
not.
on this
You're not.
truck is going to be disorganized and a mess. If you're
Absolutely.
organized, that means that everything's going to probably that you're setting that expectation.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. So let's talk about the podcast first. I'd like to know what you thought about being on a podcast with us doing a podcast. We've been doing it now maybe a year and a half or so, almost 2 years, and we've changed our setup. We first came on and we just talked about anything and everything. And then, Ready App approached us about, kind of bringing it into
Mhm.
more of a talking to executives and different things. And I have another show that we talk to drivers. So, tell us a little bit about being on FreightWaves and what you learned there, and how did that maybe change your perspective on the industry? Because I will say, doing these shows, I've learned a lot, and I've maybe looked at things a lot different hearing it from other
Mhm.
people about their, situation.
Yeah, it was such a great opportunity. So I was a broker, and then I started a company called Carrierless, and I was out selling that. And Craig over at FreightWaves, raised some money in 2019, and he offered me a job to be director of research. So I was going to come
Okay.
in, write market research reports. His small team that was going to do
Mhm.
that. Being a podcast host or being on FreightWaves TV or anything like that was not on my bingo card whatsoever. So it was interesting. It was the right place at the
Mhm.
right time, really, in a lot of ways, because we did 2019. We started the podcast. We started a bunch of podcasts, but one of those was Put That Coffee Down. Dooner and I started that in one day. We just decided to spin it up right before the pandemic, and it was fun. It was fun. The pandemic hit. Everyone's kind of working from home. I was
Mhm.
and we were just running 24/7 almost of podcasts and just being on live stream, and it was a lot of fun. Met a lot
Mhm.
of people, great for networking.
Yeah.
But it was a great point. I learned so much.
Mhm.
Learned so much from interviewing people, from preparing to interview with people, and conducting those interviews, and learning it on really how the entire industry works, right? Not just my
Right.
little silo that I was in, but being exposed to a wide array of people. I mean, it was a fantastic opportunity, and I had fun with it. It was good. It was a challenge every day
Yeah.
to be able to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable, right? I think that's a lot of it is just
It,
being
it,
comfortable.
It is.
Yeah.
I agree. I go back and look at our older episodes, and if you can laugh at yourself, and it's a good thing. And I've learned a lot. I've got myself a lot more confident, and even talking to somebody off camera now somewhere else about trucking, it's made it, a little bit more
Hmm.
comfortable, or knowing what to say or how to turn a conversation. So I
Yeah,
can
I
easily
used
see
to
that.
I used to just over prepare. Just
Hmm.
over prepare because my greatest fear was being live or even a recording and not knowing what to say, right? Not knowing a
Right.
follow-up question. Not so I'd have like 20 questions lined up, and it was awkward conversation a little bit.
Right.
But then you get so busy you can't prepare, but you get so comfortable too that you don't
Hmm.
really need to prepare. And one of the things that it really taught me, probably the biggest thing that has helped in sales, my career, my life, is active listening,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Is act because once you get over the fear of not knowing how to respond,
True.
then you're just listening to everything and just following the conversation wherever it goes.
Mm.
And that is where it really becomes fun to
Yeah.
do these things.
Yeah, and that's good advice, because sounds just like I did. I had all kind of questions, and I
Yeah.
try to follow my script, and then I've got now to where I have something to start with, and then it's just how the conversation goes, and I'll have two or three things that we'll get to, and if it don't make it, it don't. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
We just keep it flowing. So with that being said, let's talk about your company that you founded, Carrier List, and I know you had it acquired by Highway, which is exciting. That's what,
Hmm.
everybody wants to do when they start something. More than likely is to be appreciative of it, and then be able to make something off of it, and it continue with bigger ideals. So kind of tell us about that company, how you got it started, what all it entangled.
Yeah. So if you think back to 2015, 2016 in the brokerage world, uh, and a lot of times, especially if you're in a smaller brokerage, if
Hmm.
you couldn't find trucks on the load boards, there wasn't really anywhere to turn except for maybe
Right.
Google or, what have you. And it took a long time and a lot of effort to source out carriers. So I got tired of losing out on loads. Especially, I think the hazmat load was I was like, man, I don't know any good hazmat carriers. I'm
Right.
never going to win. People are offering, but I can't win anything because I can't find the carriers. So I came up with this idea just to call carriers. Call carriers really between 500 truck fleets. Kind of narrows down the numbers of people that you have to call and just, what kind of trailers do you guys have? You got
Right.
dry vans? Do you have flatbeds? And where do you like to run? And do you guys do any specialized services, like hazmat or, final mile or heavy
Mhm.
haul? What do you guys do? And just put that into a spreadsheet. And I was selling a spreadsheet for a long time and partnered with SaferWatch, who was
Yeah. Yeah.
acquired by Truckstop back in 2018, 2019. And I was a product within the SaferWatch uh, software platform, right? And so I was online, digital, and I was just out selling that. And that was really, just a sourcing tool before, really kind of when digital freight matching started as well. And
Right.
before the technology really rolled out to where you could do that better, which is Highway sold it to Highway in 2021 as they were starting out. That was kind of their first product as they're building what the actual Highway
Mm.
is today, right? This was
Right.
the first foray into the market, and it was exciting, and I'm glad that they put in a lot more data into the sourcing tool, and that's
Right.
evolved about 5 times since then, which is exciting to see whenever they come up. I think they came out with another sourcing iteration of that,
Mhm.
to integrate into some other things, and it's just fun to watch.
Let's get into what you're doing now. I know you're at Carrier
Yeah.
Source, and one thing that I find fascinating is shippers' data. That I know you see through there. The one thing about trucking that I've never understood is there's no centralized anything. There's
No.
not one place you can go to get on all the load boards. There's not one place that you can go and really find out information about a carriers or brokers or a place that all the drivers are at. And that is one thing that we're trying to do at Ready App is trying to be the centralized hub for everything, for things to flow.
Mhm.
And it goes back, I think, again to what I said. Nobody really wants you inside their house or their living room,
Yeah.
and I get that. So tell us about how all that really works and what kind of data you see and things of that nature there.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Rob Light and Clara Flaherty and a couple others started this website in 2020.
Hmm.
And so everyone with the MC number has their own profile page, and you can go in and claim that profile page. You can dress it up, right? And you can collect reviews. And so they've collected about 75,000 reviews. Most of them are 4 and 5 stars.
Hmm.
Very positive reviews, right? There's some negative ones, of course, but
Oh yeah, can't make everybody
it's not
happy.
like I know, right? You can't make everybody happy, but it is not a place like FreightGuard or TIA's Watchdog or anything like that. It is more of the Yelp or Google reviews. But we do moderate that. We make sure that the two parties have done business together, right? So
Right, right.
if you don't, we had I don't know if you probably have heard of this the guy who had a truck company in Washington who threw a rock at a monk's sill a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we had a lot of people come in and write reviews,
Uh,
but those never make it to the website because they're just the general public, and we want to make sure that the
right,
parties have done business together, right?
right.
But with that, it's user generated content, which Google loves.
Hmm.
The LLMs now love it. So we rank really high when shippers or anyone else, but we really count shippers, come in and do a search. Reefer carriers in Wichita, Kansas, or,
Hmm.
flatbeds in Florence, Alabama. A lot of shippers come in, from Walmart, Costco,
Yeah.
um, Target, Baker Hughes, right? Household names. And then all kinds of SMB, those 100, 200 business to business steel companies or whoever it may be. So they're searching for capacity for carriers for
Mhm.
whoever they can find on Google. They land on carrier sorts. From there, we can identify who they are, what they're searching for, and that accumulates the data. And we sell that as shipper intent signals, where we can send that out to you in real time for business development and leads. But this is where we get our shipper data from. We get about 400,000 users a month. And of those, we can identify about anywhere from 15 to 20,000 shippers a month, depending on the market, really.
Right.
The tighter the market, the more searches we get.
So on the carrier page, so what kind of information does someone see if they go to their page to see, XYZ trucking out of Wichita? What
Yeah.
besides the Yelp stuff, but like, was it the MC number, DOT number, how many trucks kind of like or
Yeah, you get that standard stock FMCSA data, but you can put in your own overview, right? You can put
Mhm.
in your logo, um, but your overview, what services you offer, your
Okay.
preferred lanes, just really everything about yourself. You can put in premium packages, you can put in your marketing materials, right?
Oh,
You can put in
nice.
photographs. You can really dress it up.
Y'all really checking to see if the business is done business with each other. That's one of the things that I don't like about the freight guard system. You can not really do anything wrong, and a broker gets all pennies in a wad, and they just throw something on there,
Yeah.
and it just hurts everybody. It's like, well, wait a minute, nothing happened yet. Like I know a couple years ago, we were going to get on a load, and they had told us one of their brokers had told us that the load wasn't going to be available that day. And so we reacted and went on. We hadn't even signed the
Hmm.
paperwork yet and went ahead and found another load because you
Yeah.
don't want your driver sitting. 20 minutes later, we did get the load secure. Here's the paperwork. Well, we can't take it. We done taken another one because so and so. Well, and you wasn't supposed to work with. Well, I don't know that. I just had somebody from your corporate
Yeah.
call and say it wasn't good, and then they threw a freight guard on the driver and the carrier, and it's like, wait a minute, we didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I understand things happen, but we didn't fall off. We didn't give it back. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and so I appreciate you at least doing a little bit of due diligence because I've had an internet business pretty much my entire life. I actually started on eBay when eBay was 6 months old. And the one thing that I've learned from the internet world is, and I use this as my funny example, you can buy something at Walmart and you'll take it home and go, I don't need this. I need to take it back. More than likely, you're just going to keep it. It ain't worth going to stand in the
Hmm.
return line, or if you get in the return line, you're going to be very polite to make sure you get your. On the internet, when you do something, it's keyboard city. They don't care. They're the big
Yeah.
bad people in the world, and it's just harping, harping, harping. It's like, wait a minute, you wouldn't do this if we was in person, So and so I
Yeah.
like that you have a little policing there that keeps everybody honest on both sides.
It does, and it's a public website, right? Everyone has access to it. Freight guard reports where you can't really see it unless someone sends it to you. You don't really
Right.
know it's
Yeah.
there for a
Typically,
long time.
typically you don't know until you try to book a load and they go, well, you got a freight guard
Yeah.
on it. We can't use it. And you're like, what? So yeah, so that's great that you can see. And I mean, and I think too, we're all smart enough people in the world that we can look at those kind of reviews on Carrier Source and you can tell if it's a little spiteful or it's
Yeah.
meaningful. I mean, in Freight Guard,
Yeah.
if you can't read it, you don't have a clue. You just know I got to do something, try to get rid of it. Whatever I need to do. The
Yeah.
upper management.
And you can't, and on ours as well, right? If you get a negative review,
Hmm.
you can get ten other reviews, right? And
True.
it stacks
Average.
it. So
Mhm.
if you have one bad review out of 10, people can make decisions off of that, right? Because we all know that you do enough loads, enough things are going to go wrong. Sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's their fault.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How many times have you been the dispatcher and you think you got a load book, and then the broker comes back because they was able to get it a few dollars cheaper, and they go, well,
Exactly.
there's no, we can't put a freight guard per se on you, and it's,
Exactly.
it's,
Right. Load was canceled. Load was canceled, which means I
yeah,
found someone cheaper.
exactly, exactly. So talk about your your market data and freight trends that you've looked at and you go through and what's the biggest trends that you're seeing right now? The rates are up, especially on the van side, I've heard, which is good.
Hmm.
Which it kind of probably still not making as much profit because fuel's up. It's like almost $6 a gallon where
Yeah.
I'm at, and which car regular fuel is it's $4. So I understand their pain when it comes to that. But what's the biggest trend you're seeing right now with all that data?
The market's turned, right? The market's turned. It's forming right now. I think it's going to get stronger. I think really the only question on just the market in general before I get into specifics is this cyclical or is this structural? And
Hmm.
I think I'm leaning towards structural myself, just because, as you know, from your days as recruiting, right? The legitimate qualified pool has shrunk
Yeah.
because of regulations, whether that may be shutting down training schools that weren't up to code, right? That's a big thing.
It is.
English proficiency was a ESP or ELS. ELP, I think is the correct acronym.
Hmm.
You have non-domicile. You just had a lot of headwinds coming through. And then to top it all off, just in the last few weeks, you had Montgomery versus C.H. Robinson,
Yep.
which, isn't going to be a monster change, but it is going to limit capacity over time,
Hmm.
right? It is going to wring out the bad operators, right? You have fraud, which constricts and makes decision making more difficult as well. So I think on that, I think it's going to be structural. I think the quantity or the pull of legitimate carriers and legitimate drivers is shrinking
Hmm.
over long term. I don't, like when you look at the pandemic, right? The pandemic was a sugar boost of demand,
Yeah.
created that. Before that, you had the ELD craze,
Hmm.
which was supposed to limit productivity. I think it probably did a little bit, but everyone kind of adjusted to that. I don't think it was a major issue, but I think this is a major issue. And what we're seeing, dry van's pretty healthy. Flatbed's just on fire. The open
Yeah.
deck is from our data and search, from sonar data that I look at. It is just, and from talking to brokers and carriers, it is on fire. And I think the big growth in the economy right now, the grower is the AI data centers, which is
Hmm.
very industrial, very flatbed heavy, right?
Hmm.
And it is that market is insane, and reefer is good.
Hmm.
I don't know too much about the refrigerated market, but it's going good as well, right? So I think we're in a range. We're past the 4 years of wandering through the desert
Yeah.
of the recession, and I think this might be a multi-year run of a very
Yeah.
strong market. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. The industry needs it. Getting to my point with the drivers being worried about AI. I have guests on daily. They all have different opinions on AI. The one thing that everybody is agreement on that just regular AI may take a few jobs, but it makes the jobs more efficient where people can get more done, be more productive. But everybody has different opinions on the truck side. I've heard we're going to go fully autonomous in 5 years. I've heard that there will always be a driver in it, just like an airplane. They got a pilot, there will always be a driver. I've heard that there'll be people sitting in warehouses with joysticks driving trucks, flatbed, too much risk involved. You can't trust somebody at the yard tightening that up. You can't put a rope because I even had somebody yesterday on the show tell me that the robots that Tesla's building will be able to go into trucks, get out of the trucks close the door, strap down. And I'm thinking, but that's so much liability. I mean, if you go pick up a flatbed already loaded, you have to physically still check it. So then you take responsibility of
Yep.
that happened. And I had a driver of mine's son go do that. Thought everything was good. He went to restrap everything down. He didn't get on top of the truck to look, and there was something on top of above the strap. How it got there, why it was there, and when he went to yank down on it, it come on him and head and killed him. So I mean, that's so dangerous
Yeah.
not only for the driver and the truck, but for the passengers on the interstate and different things of that nature. So where do you see AI fitting in? I mean, it's already here, of course, but where do you see it fitting in and kind of molding itself over the next 10 years, I guess.
When it comes, I'll start with autonomous trucking. When it comes to that, I have no clue. I have no, I'm still, we're probably about the same age, right?
Hmm.
Is that I can't even envision autonomous trucking.
I can't either.
That world, I just can't envision it, but it's at some point in the future, it's gonna hit. I think it's gonna be a little bit slow. It could be within the next 20 years. It could be never. I mean, I really don't know. Um, just the whole self-driving thing. If you get in a Tesla and self-drive, it's just like I kind of want to do that.
Right.
Because I'm sick. I'm not a very good driver to begin with. But I still kind of like driving.
Hmm.
So it's just weird to me on that part of it. On the and we've 70s, 80s kids, right?
Hmm.
We've been through the 90s, right? We've been through the tech revolutions. We've
Yep.
been, the internet changed, 1985 to 2005,
Yes.
totally different worlds, right? But we all adapted to it, right? Made us a
Hmm.
little bit productive. We're now all on computers. Um, I think it's probably going to be about the same for AI. I think since kind of going back to kind of the ELD phase, right? We have a lot of
Hmm.
data in the industry now, right? We have data
Yeah.
companies everywhere. We have this, but we don't know what to do with it.
True.
But I think with the power of AI being able to crunch the numbers, basically,
Hmm.
we can get some really good productive hacks out of there. And if we can talk about automation, automating processes and things, but predictive maintenance, I think, safety. I think there's some really good things that we can do with it off the top of my head is efficiencies in networks. Putting together all this disparate data to map out the market, maybe, if we can all share it. But I think of the certainly on the trucking side, predictive maintenance,
Yeah.
is something, and a few other things that go with the truck and the operating of the truck would be fun to work on actually, because there's
Yeah.
there's just a mountain, a tsunami of data,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out what is relevant and what's not.
Mhm.
It's just too much for a human being to do, but. I think AI and this is kind of how I use it a lot, is crunching numbers. It does a really good job of those type of things.
Well, again, it's been a wonderful conversation. Your
Yeah,
insight and
Justin.
your background has been great to learn and to pick at and get your thoughts. So we appreciate that. We'll have to try to have you on again sometime. This episode was brought to you by Gray Cross. That's graycross.org. Gray Cross is a 501c nonprofit organization that I really want everybody to go check out the website. What they do is they monitor and keep up with truck drivers who lose their lives basically, and they're the breadwinners of the household 90% of the time. The other spouse is taking care of the kids, all that kind of stuff. And so when a truck driver dies on the road, there's not a lot left for the family. They have to pick up the pieces. They don't really get another paycheck most of the times. So they step in, they'll go in, help with funerals, help with financial medical costs, groceries, clothes, whatever. It's a great organization. So, go check it out. If you can't donate $1 or $5, share the platform. That's all I ask for. So definitely check that out. It's graycross.org. And then, of course, we want to thank our main sponsor, ReadyApp. ReadyApp is helping modernize transportation through a verified driver profile. We call that the driver passport. It helps streamline onboarding, digital credentials, and professional visibility tools to specifically for trucking. Drivers, you can go in, you can maintain your passport digitally with your work history, CDL information, endorsement, certificate. If you have an accident, you have a DOT, pictures of your truck, anything that is needed in trucking, you're able to share that with the click of a button. And then for carriers, recruiters, and brokers and other industry partners, ReadyApp is trying to help improve efficiency, reduce paperwork, and build trust through the verification and transparency programs that they have. Driver Verify. Inside of Driver Verify, you're going to be able to be a broker or shipper or a carrier. You can get the information from the driver. You know exactly who the driver is. You know exactly what carrier they're working with. You know that broker is verified. You can do all your paperwork through the app. There's no need of having to email something out, somebody not getting an email, or somebody having to wait. You can negotiate. You can do anything and everything through there. Plus, there's tons of benefits as well. I'll give you one for carriers. You can come on there and you have unlimited job postings. That's $99 a month. First 3 months are free. You can't beat that. That's 1 day on Indeed for one job. So, check it out. It's ready-app.com. Again, want to thank everybody for joining. Share, like, and Kevin, again, we appreciate your time and coming on and your insight. And we'll see everybody next time on the next episode of Trucker Talk Radio.